a group as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm joined today by Kushbu and Charu. Thanks for being here, ladies.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
calling
much.
us.
And we're going to be talking about X-Men and creation and how do you use your X-Men abilities to create a different reality.
Yeah.
X-Men really do have a different reality available to them. And one of the things that I've noticed is because X-Men are very aware of, people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, they'll often duplicate other people's ways of creating. And then when they actually start to tap into more about what they know about creation, that's when things tend to work a little bit easier for them. So, if you're watching this and you would like to create more in your life, and there are things in your life that you're doing that are not working so well, we can help with that. And then also, if you want to tap into more of what would work for you, we can also help with that. But I think the ladies have some questions they want to start with.
Yeah, actually, um, this I get asked also this, and I've seen this happening with a lot of X-Men. Is they've got like a lot of things going on in their head, but so what they have is a problem of finishing things. So do they need to finish it? How do they get things done when there's just multiple things going? Do you like how does one create when you've got multiple things going on?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, for a lot of you, if you've ever tried to focus on one thing, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of attention, and it'll often be like seem like you're fighting against yourself to get something done or to create something. So actually what tends to work for most X-Men is to add more to your life. So the more that you add, the more projects you have going on, you actually complete things with greater ease because you'll actually finish things and complete things without even realizing that you've completed them because you've already moved on to the next project. So, like, what I would suggest asking is, what else do I need to add to my life in order to complete everything I'm trying to create without even realizing? And that's really that place of, being willing to do the opposite of what you think you should do. We're told we need to focus. We're told if you've got more than one thing going on, then you need to just, disregard everything else and focus and concentrate on that one thing. But it just doesn't really work for most X-Men.
So, adding to that, I want to ask you a question. Like, multiple times in my world, I would have lots of creations and I would not reach to the finish point, which you just spoke about, like having many things and energetically finishing it. And yet, in this physical world, a lot of projects require finishing it in the physical world. So, how do we work around that?
Yeah, so I mean, you want to recognize that like completion or like conclusion is not really an X-Men's reality. So like you were talking about, creation for an X-Men is like an ongoing extrapolation of possibilities. You're always going to be, you've probably noticed you're always like, okay, what else, and you're halfway through something and then you're already like, okay, what else can I do, what else can I create? So in terms of, sometimes it's like there's a few different things that you can do, but like for example, it might be that you need to pass a project on to someone else who's really great at like wrapping things up and getting it to the final stage. Or um, like one of the other things that I've noticed is if something is really like required to be done, we can often get it done really quickly, but we'll like wait until the very last moment to create it, like to finish it. And so sometimes it's just about going, okay, how much time is this actually going to take me to finish it? It's like, okay, half an hour or whatever it takes. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna like get it done. And that is something that's required sometimes, but when you avoid it, that's when it actually starts to drain like your energy. And so when you just be present with it and ask what's required and what you can choose now, it's actually easier. And you can even just, if you've got like a bigger project that needs finishing, every day you just ask, okay, what part of this project can I play with today? What can I actually actualize today that will bring this to fruition? Because
Yeah.
on a bigger project, it's something that you need to check in with on a daily basis. And even if you only spend, you know, 5 minutes to 30 minutes on it every day, you will get it done.
Yeah. There's something you said like being present. So, what does being present for an X-Men look like?
Well, like as an X-Men, we have this ability to be present with multiple things simultaneously. What I've noticed though is that, like, so for example, if some of you might be like a little bit ADD, which means if there's a bright, shiny thing, then that's where your attention goes. So what I've noticed is sometimes with projects that actually, require, more of that, like, presence with that to bring it into fruition right away, you still have the awareness of all of those things like floating, but you're basically making that your priority. And so um, it's not that you have to shut off any awareness to create that. You just basically make it like the most important thing to create right now and to play with right now. So yeah, it's like usually with most creations, if you talk to them, they will let you know when it's going to be the easiest time to actually, bring them to fruition. And if you're doing something and it's hard and it's difficult and it's just not working, you need to start asking some different questions. What else do I need to be looking at here? What else do I need to be aware of? Is there someone else or something else I need to add to move this project or this business or whatever it is you're looking at along?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Um,
Shadow, you wanted.
Something very interesting you spoke previously was um, X-Men are quite aware of a lot of things, and the problem occurs when they start avoiding it. So over the period of time, we have learned to avoid things. That's the easiest way of not addressing and not being present. And that really ends up like hurting in many ways, like in body or at the financial level or at the creation levels. So this avoid, and we have been talking a lot in Access about avoiding and then defending. So could you talk about a little bit of that, when people are aware and yet they want to avoid and keep defending that their abilities and all of that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a speed of space that's available for X-Men with creation, and really, it's usually like when something starts talking to you, that's often when action is required. So, like a lot of you will know this from your lives, where something will pop up, and you're like, oh, why is this popping up now? Like, I don't really think I need to make a choice here for quite a while, or I don't think I need to put this in place right now. And then a day later, a week later, a month later, you're like, oh, I wish I'd listened to that whisper of awareness. And that's the thing with creation for X-Men. If you're willing to listen to everything that's talking to you, that's when creation can actually be the most ease. And more often than not, we find out where we're going against ourselves in this area by you choosing and then getting the awareness of what our choice created. So really, like, when you start avoiding things, that's when you're actually avoiding the ease of creation that's available. So what I would recommend is start listening to the whispers, and when they show up, be in question of like, okay, so what choice is required here? What can I choose? What can I put in place right now that will make my life easier?
Yeah, that was
I guess one other part of this conversation that we're sort of starting to tap into is like an X-Men's ability to have awareness of the future, and receiving information or awareness from the future is totally non-linear. So you have to be willing to have this not make sense from like a cognitive point of view. Like, if you're receiving awareness about something, don't make it try to match what's showing up in your life right now. Just ask, what is this and how can I use it?
That's, oh, I have no words to say to that. That makes complete sense.
Totally.
Yes. Oh, so don't focus on one thing. Have multiple things going on. Ask questions. Fall. I mean, and listen to those whispers. Like, don't avoid and just sort of like
Don't avoid, yeah.
do it then.
And ask a question, what's required here?
Yeah.
And most of the time, sometimes like we don't require anything, but the whole idea that we are avoiding it, I don't want to address it, is only the energy of avoiding.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at it, like it takes way more energy to avoid something than it does to actually be present with and address something. So there is some lie there that we've bought about what it takes to actually be present and, what it takes to not avoid something. Often all that's required is for you to actually like put your awareness on something or your attention on something, and it will start to change. So it's often not nearly as hard as we think it's going to be. And it's just that, like, it's the avoidance of the engagement with something that actually ends up usually creating the problem or the difficulty.
Avoidance of the engagement.
Yeah. um and
Yes.
yeah, I guess I would just, like, if you've got anything in your life right now, like if you've been avoiding things and there's a ton of things that you're like, all right, I really need to deal with this, just start like right now. Okay, what's one of these things that I could actually be present with and like make a choice with? And if it wasn't about getting it right, if it was just about getting more awareness, it doesn't matter what your choice creates, because either way you're going to get aware and you're going to have a different reality available as a result of that choice.
Also, in the beginning, you asked, like you were speaking about X-Men starts creating like everybody else, and then it doesn't work out. A lot of people who would be watching this on Access India page, uh, a lot of people go through struggling with creating classes, having clients, having a business of, and looking at the reference points, how everybody else is creating, and having your own reality in creating with everything that we truly desire. How can we dominantly have more of that in our world?
Yeah. I mean, like, so in saying that, it's like if you see something that's working for someone and you notice an energy that they're being that is creating something, you can totally ask to be that energy. Like, it's not about excluding anyone else's reality to have your reality, but being willing to notice where, like, if you're doing some, like, has anyone ever tried to do, like, say, like a financial course, and it's very much done from like, if you take this step and this step and this step, then you'll be financially successful, and it's like it just doesn't freaking work for an X-Men, because like we don't function from that place. Like, we extrapolate from multiple possibilities, and it's way more fluid. Like, creation for an X-Men is more like an ocean than it is something solid. It's constantly moving and constantly changing. So I think part of what you want to look at is like, okay, so what do I actually know here? Like, what am I aware of? And just start. Like, with whatever it is you desire to create, you're not going to get anywhere by not making a choice or not taking action. So just start wherever you are right now with whatever you have available. Begin, start choosing, and you will get closer to where you want to be with every choice you make.
And what a day to do this live. We are doing it on wherever you are, just start. Don't judge it.
It's
Wherever,
last day of the year and it's
yeah,
beginning.
it could be a day of judgments of what you've created, what you've not created, or it could be, okay, now where do I start? Beginning of something new.
Yeah. And you guys out there, it's like you're infinite beings, and the only way that you make yourself finite is when you buy a judgment or a point of view as more real and true. So you really just want to look at, okay, if I was like, as an infinite being, what can I choose that I've never chosen before? What choice do I actually have available here?
Awesome. I think this is like a power-packed 15 minutes. This like
Yeah.
stuff in every sentence, and I would just really like for whoever like just keep listening to this. Like every sentence has something brilliant.
Yes.
And thank you so much. He's coming to India this Jan on the 28th and 29th in Mumbai for the next month class. So there's so much more to this. And we're just beginning to.
Like, what do you get it in 2 days? If you struggle with communication, we have had conversation around that. If you struggle with uh, your creations, if you struggle with ending projects, if you struggle with having children and like communication, homeworks, and not able to get them through the school curriculum, these 2 days are power packed place
Yes.
to
And
explore them.
if you have a great life and you just want to make it better, you can also come, and there's things for that too. um, and I just wanted to say as well, I have a free call for New Year's called Energy, Space, and Consciousness. So if you guys want to check that out, it's tomorrow evening in Australia. And it'll be a good time for India. It'll probably be your evening, your early evening, and yeah, you can find it on my website, wynne-jones.com. So
We can also put in the comments. We'll just put the
yeah,
link in the just invite you
thanks so
guys.
much, ladies, and thank you for watching and listening. And yeah, look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
Bye,
Happy New
guys.
Year's.
Happy New Year,
much.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.